Lovely. Rolling. Great. Man, thank you so much for joining me today and doing me the great pleasure and honor to be on the podcast.
No worries.
Smartfire. I know you obviously, but for people who don't, and the goal of this podcast is also to bring your incredible personality to the French audience, because I'm not quite sure you have a lot of French following, do you?
I don't think so.
Not really sure.
I don't think. Firstly, bonjour, comment allez-vous?
Don't worry, I prepared a small French class at the end of the podcast, so we'll be able to work on that. I follow you and I love what you're doing on social media and publicly because I think you're a creative genius, for your humanity and transparency, and as well for your cheeky and, can you say, dry sense of humor?
Yeah.
We say something like that in French. I'd love you to introduce yourself, because to me you're such a multi-layer character that I want to see how you unfold it yourself.
Amazing.
So
amazing.
Please.
Thank you so much for the kind words on this Wednesday morning. I would say if someone were to ask me what I am, I would say a content creator. I went to an induction the other day and everyone kind of was asked the question what they do, and I didn't really know what to say, so I said content creator. So everything underneath that umbrella in terms of YouTube, Instagram, member sites, websites, doing a few brand deals here and there with clothing companies, and yeah, so the name is Thomas Moore, TMCycles, and it's been going now for about, I'd say, 10 years, coming up to the 10th year in the industry. Because I originally started as a one-to-one personal trainer, but as you know, the market is very saturated, so I shifted online, and then was kind of doing 7-day weeks. So I was doing my working in GNC, if you remember back in the day when I was selling supplements. And,
I do.
And then during that time I was sitting at the back and I had my laptop and I was just creating the brand, and then until the point where I was like, right, I can branch off now, I started to create the YouTube and Instagram.
When you say the brand, is that your brand, right?
Yeah, I would say sort of TMCycles as a brand, yeah. If that makes things easier.
That does. But it's really interesting how, I don't know if it's a British thing or an English speaking thing, or in France we have a very hard time to consider ourselves as brands, as like, unique perception of things moving in one direction. And a lot of people would just say, oh, I'm a YouTuber, or I'm a TikToker, I'm an influencer, or something like that. Yeah. And whenever somebody asks the same question to me, I'm like, okay, where shall I start? Where to begin? I held the camera for a living, or it's always a bit weird. But I remember you were doing like 3 or 4 years ago, you were probably doing some editing as a side job.
Yeah, so I left GNC as a videographer. So my title at that point was videographer, like GG is now. So I was I was managing Instagram posts and YouTube content, as well as kind of long form stuff for Luke Johnson at Shredded by Science. So we had the SBS Academy. So it's quite nice to look back at that and see that I was the person that edited all of that, and yeah, it was a big task, but back then it would have been straight videography, working sort of 5 days a week. But then in between, because I was working in London, I thought it would be a great chance to vlog. In Shoreditch we worked, so it's a very kind of content creator friendly environment there, so it was fantastic. And then we just started with the vlogs, and it got to the point whereby I think me and Luke both agreed that my time had come to kind of sort of flee the nest and do my own thing, and that's what he did. He kind of let me go after doing such a fantastic job at giving me the tools and the foundations of business and marketing and advertising. So yeah, it was at that point where it was like, right, let's jump into the deep end and do it on our own.
I remember the kickoff, the point where you were going to the office every single morning and then coming back and trying to shoot your vlogs, not on the side but around that schedule. Sure. And then flipped completely to a new life and new approach of content creation, and it was very exciting to follow. And I think you've been doing the transition quite well, to be honest.
Yeah, it was very daunting at first. I think I had like, the first week was fantastic, it was very exciting, and then the second week, I remember that first Monday, I was like, oh my God, this is for real now. You know, it's all on me. You know, the money coming in and out is all on me. The overheads, the expenses. It's not that kind of security net of that monthly income that I had from Luke was gone. But in turn, I needed to look at it that if he was paying me say £1,400 to £1,500, that's only say 10 more clients paying me £100 a month, or 15 or so clients paying me £100 a month. So it was on me then to kind of step forward and get that. I mean, and it came. You know, the first month was fantastic, and then it kind of just snowballed.
Okay, that's when you developed the website.
The website came, I think, about 6 months later, and that was because my YouTube channel overnight had 2 strikes, and everyone knows if you have a third strike on YouTube, the channel's gone, it's deleted, and at that time it was 30,000 subscribers, and I'd worked really hard for that, and I thought, you know, this is the last thing. And it happened on a horrible day. It was when I was competing, so you know, on the day of competition, the last thing you want is that stress of your YouTube channel going. So I had to type in keyword like testosterone, steroid, debol, and just had to delete every video. And my view, I think I lost about 7 million views, and I think that was probably the reason why my YouTube following kind of stagnated a little bit, is because we were up here with content, and it was pleasing the algorithm, but then I deleted all these videos, and it kind of just shunted me back to the bottom. So yeah, it was pretty much starting from scratch almost.
Because of what? Because of a video on steroids?
Yeah,
or?
Because the censorship on YouTube, they just came down very hard on content creators that produced anything to do with steroids. So as soon as the word steroid there, it would get flagged and it would get deleted, or you'd get a strike. So it was at a point whereby I didn't want to stop talking about it. I wanted to continue educating. So I thought, what can I do to create an environment, a place where people can come in and ask questions? So I created the TMCycles member site. And on there we talked about anabolic steroids, we talked about injection protocols, PCT, estrogen, and then we had the members site as well. So it was like a hub for people to kind of interact, and that did really well. It was fantastic.
That's very interesting, man, because I've been following quite the same journey. Like I used to be a sports journalist, and then I moved into like personal training, and then online, and then, you know, slowly to content creation. And I began with a strategy a bit similar to what you're doing at this very moment, which is a daily vlog. And I was, okay, I have a lot of content and a lot of ideas to put out. So let's take advantage of the time I have now without any following, without any audience or nobody listening to me. And let's create one video a day for like the next 90 days, so 3 months.
Amazing.
And I was like, okay, let's start. And I did it for like 3 or 4 days. And after that, I was like, oh, damn, what have I got myself into? It's going to be crazy. And eventually, I managed to go through the 90 days, but it was an incredible adventure. And the effect didn't get as soon as I was expecting it, because it went like May. And then probably 2 months afterwards, probably because the algorithm needed to register all that content creation, all that activity, it eventually snowballed, and then my YouTube channel boomed. But that's the first time you do a daily vlog, right? Yeah, this
is for Vlogmas, which is like they kind of created Christmas Vlogmas. So it was just about getting a plan in place. I remember toward the end of November, I kind of wrote out a few ideas just to have in the bank. So like full day of eating, clothes hauls, reviewing like the festive menu at McDonald's and things like that. And then it was just a case of ensuring that I had a good routine whereby I wake up at 5 a.m. and then I edit the previous day and upload on the same day. And then I just have to be sure to film, because the biggest inspiration from vlogging in general came from Casey Neistat. Do you remember Casey? And
I do.
Just such a profound impact on me as a content creator, and I was absolutely engulfed and glued into him as an individual and to his content, and
same.
He was just, for me, probably one of the biggest inspirations, and you know, fair play to him. I think he daily vlogged for, I mean, almost years. You know, even when he was flying, he'd sit in the airport and he'd upload. And this guy's work ethic is a machine. So he was a big inspiration for me. Yeah.
Have you seen, I remember maybe 2 or 3 years ago, one of his daily vlogs talking about his day-to-day life, and the schedule, man, was like
crazy, huh?
Like literally crazy. Like I was sleeping something like 4 hours a night, and I was in my head. There was this dichotomy between, oh, you have those nerds like being crazy about creating content and creative genius and so on, and then you have the well-being fitness people that would say, not the Arnold part, like sleep faster, you know what I mean? Like you need to sleep your 8 or 9 hours to be growing and recovering properly and so on. And I was like in the middle of the trenches and thinking, what do I do now? What's the solution? Like sleep faster, sleep less, sleep more and be more productive? And how did you handle being such a creative nerd, because I love the way you create and the ideas you have when you're in front of the camera, and managing your day-to-day life, training, business and so on? It's quite of a challenge.
It is, and I think it's difficult for us to be so hot on content because we have to take into consideration our physique goals, and what comes with our physique goals is sleep, nutrition and structure. So if to be honest, if I didn't have bodybuilding and training, if I was just say for example that in a couple of years time that I stopped training, or I just did your sort of usual Monday, Wednesday, Friday little run in the morning, for example, I'd be quite content at accepting, right, I'm going to take a back seat, I wouldn't say health, but maybe my sleep's going to become a little affected because I don't have that in the back of my mind going, right, you've got to eat protein, you've got to eat X amount of carbohydrates. So for us, it's finding that balance, and it's very hard balance. But I think that once you nail that routine, it comes okay. You know, if I try and wind down around about 8 o'clock and be in bed by 9 o'clock, so I can get a good, even when I get up at 5, if I'm asleep by 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's still 7 hours, which is okay for me. That's like the lowest I'll go. Usually I try and shoot for 8 or 9. But on the days whereby I need to get up at 5 a.m, if I'm planning stuff for Ibiza Classic next year, or doing some work on the website, for example, I'll just accept that day I'm doing 7 hours. And I'm quite good at napping in the day. I do a quick 20-minute nap at afternoon, which is lovely anyway. But
with the dog, can you?
Nah, the dog don't. The dog's not allowed up here. He stays downstairs.
You'll do nothing.
I'm a very, very clean OCD kind of guy. That's downstairs. My room's upstairs.
That's something I wanted to hear you about, like the concept of routine, because a lot of people in the French fitness industry per se, and in the self-help personal development industry, all like, oh, grind 24/7, you'll sleep when you're dead, you have to hustle, you can't work enough, basically. And for a long time I'm following how you structure your days and how you're literally like so regimented, almost anal about the time you wake up, go to sleep. I remember the stories about the sleep, like the how to sleep guide with the blindfold and the earplugs and the
spray.
What was it? The lavender spray you were putting on the pillows, right? From Lush or the Body Shop.
That's
I don't remember.
Lush. Good memory. Yeah, very good.
I see that. It's incredible to me to be able to be so creative on one side and so disciplined on the other, and that's something I don't see a lot, not in French people at all, and not a lot on social media, to be honest.
Yeah,
I've always been like that.
Always, I've always been very sort of neat and tidy, even from the kind of early vlogging days. I suppose that stemmed from the only real subject that I enjoyed at school was media. So and I didn't really get on with school. It was always like a chore for me. But the only time I could kind of be free and let myself flow would be in media. So we'd get given a task to create a music video or reenact a music video, and it was when I'd just come alive and everything, the juices would flow, and it was when I felt comfortable. Every other lesson I didn't really feel comfortable learning about science or English. I enjoyed English very much because of the teacher, but media was the only subject where I felt like I could really be myself and kind of start to get creative through editing and filming, and I had a real passion. My mum used to show me kind of quite famous films at a young age, even like the kind of Scarface at 18 was probably not the best to watch that at 14, 15, but it allowed me to kind of understand shot selection, mise en scène, and really start to kind of piece together certain directors and their particular kind of niche, you know. So it was kind of from the early age of being incredibly excited about new films and TV series as well, like Sopranos, and some of the shots recently in Narcos was just it's just incredible. You know, I'll sit there on Netflix and rewind it, and then I'll try and reenact that in a vlog. And it may just be one scene, but it's one scene where people go, you know, he's really taken time to make sure that he's angled that really well. So yeah, I'd say it's been there from an early age, and I think from the other side, a lot of the influences stems from like female influencers, because, you know, if you pull up like quite a famous female Instagram's profile page, it's very clean, very sharp. And then that in turn, if you're a company, you know, if me and you work for a clothing company and we looked at a female's page and it was like very sharp, very clean, as opposed to someone, different pictures, lighting here and there, we choose this person. So from a business point of view, ensuring that first swipe on an Instagram page, that a company comes to me and looks and goes, yeah, you're the person, it also helps. So yeah, it's a kind of it's a mixed match of both.
Okay, and regarding your daily routine, you feel like the fact that you are able to do everything almost the same on every day helps you with content creation and helps you being in that flow state and being creative?
Yeah, definitely. I would say I'm trying to get better at being sort of slightly more sort of sporadic, in the sense that if someone were to call me and said, do you want to go for a drink, I say yeah. But whereas before, because I was bodybuilding off season, on season, I wasn't the best person for that. But now if the boys say, do you want to go out tonight, I say yeah, sure, because I've got the majority of my work done in the morning. So, you know, for me to go out and grab some food is absolutely fine. I think bodybuilding had quite a negative effect on social life, which we all understand. You know, it comes part and parcel of the job, and you have to accept it at that time. But since stepping away from the stage, and my ability just to kind of reach out to more people has helped massively with my head. Mental health is in a much better position. So there's definitely structure to my day, but I wouldn't say it's as structured or anal as it was when I was bodybuilding.
It's very interesting because I did a similar podcast with Josh, which is one of your best friends, I guess, and you and him seem to have come from this place of being very structured and very organized and very regimented, and then trying to learn how to flow through life and social circles and so on. And I've been on the exact opposite journey. Like I always have been this like very social animal, very disorganized, but you know, riding the wave and so on. And now that I want to get more professional, because I feel like I can only get so much done by just being myself. I need to, you know, step up. Now I rented a desk. Now I moved to another country. Now I'm like rebuilding my life around my goals.
Amazing.
But I'm following the exact opposite journey, and I feel that the difference in personality is that you and Josh, for instance, even if you're not, of course, the same person, but the personality traits that you display are a very strong asset to that game.
I mean, for me, it's almost coming back round full circle, because when I was 16, 17, 18, it was you know, it was a little wild. So it came to that's the whole question when it comes down to when or why did you start taking anabolic steroids. It was like, well, I'm replacing one kind of drug for another. So in my sort of twisted moral mindset, I was like, well, it doesn't really matter too much. So I definitely, I haven't been organised and structured. You know, it was only until when I probably became self-employed where I was like, I need to have some structure, because I never planned. I don't really, even to this day, I don't work very well with timetables and schedules. I really don't. I just think, you know, I have a rough kind of estimate of what I want to get done in my head, and then I work better like that. But the whole kind of following a plan or planning, I'm still to this day, I'm trying to get better at doing it. But yeah, I've come around full circle in the sense that this middle chunk of you know, this middle portion of my life that was dedicated to bodybuilding was recluse. It was, you know, very I was almost backed into a corner, whereas now it feels nice to flow again. So, you know, it's not necessarily learning new things, it's just sort of picking up where I left off when I was kind of 18, 19, 20.
And now it's bringing more into your life instead of just making your life revolve around bodybuilding, right?
Of course.
Incredible.
Of course.
So nowadays, what's a day in the life of TMCycles like? Like the typical, if there's a typical day, because like 2 or 3 months ago, I wouldn't be able to say, oh, my typical day looks like blah, 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 because every single day was actually totally different, which is not ideal for productivity and content creation. But what's yours?
But I mean, mine does differ from day to day, because it could be a case of like I'm going into London tomorrow to go and meet a guy about an app. So it changes a little bit, but the sort of morning routine will stay consistent because it allows me to kind of get the bulk of my work done. So I'll wake up at 5. I'll give myself a good hour. I think people that say I'll wake up at 5 and on the computer by 5:15 doesn't work like that. Just give yourself a good hour. It's cold at the moment, so I'm laying in bed for a bit, but then I'll stretch. I'll do some meditation. I'll read a small segment just to kind of get the brain going a little bit. I'll have a coffee, and then I'll be on the computer by 6 o'clock. And if I don't have any meetings in London, or I'm not meeting anyone, from 6 a.m. till around about 9, which is a good 3 hours in the morning, I'll work. I'll work as and be as productive as I can. The phone is in the bedroom, so I have no distractions. And it's nice to get up early because it's that sense of like, well, no one else is up, so I've got no distractions. And when I used to work in Shoreditch, I used to get up about 4:30 and be on the 5:15 train. It was just me, my laptop, because I was working for Luke, so I basically had a 2-hour window before work to get my own work done. Then I'd get in the office and do his, and then I'd have an hour at lunch, so I'd do my work, then I'd do his, and then on the way home I'd do my work again. So that kind of just plotting a couple hours here and there has always stayed consistent, but that morning portion will always stay the same. I'll aim to be in the gym at about 10 a.m. and the majority of the time I'll train fasted, so no food. I'll just have my pre-workout, then I'll have my intro workout shake, and then when I get home, I'll have my first meal. And then if the weather's okay, I'll try and walk the dog around about lunchtime, just so that then that task is done, and then I can sit down and go, right, I've got until 1 p.m. in the afternoon until 5, so another 4 or 5 hour window. And then once that's done, everything's off. I try my best to not to reply to Instagram DMs or any emails. Obviously, if Josh and Joe are about and they need some, I'll reply. But come 6 or 7, it's downtime, it's Netflix, it's reading, and that genuinely is the routine most of the time. Yeah.
And then going to bed early, like 9, 10.
Yeah, I try and get into bed. I mean, I like kind of ignited this spark again for reading, which is nice. It's the ability to kind of look. As I said, I got very sick and tired of these self-help books. It wasn't working for me, and the thing with self-help books is it's almost self-sabotage, because you're reading this individual's story, and this individual's a CEO, multi-millionaire. It's like, well, I'm not that guy, so why am I want to lose myself in some non-fiction. So yeah, I'll try and be in bed about 9 o'clock, and if I'm asleep by 10, and that's a good day for me.
Because everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but nobody wants to wake up at 4 a.m., right?
Very true, very true.
It's always the tricky thing of being so productive and getting up in the morning. Like this morning, I woke up at 7 for our podcast, which is not early per se, but for me, my routine is more like to bed at midnight and then waking up at 8:39. Okay. Because I need my 8:30 hours of sleep, but I can't go to bed and fall asleep if I know that things are going on, and I don't know, I need to be connected somehow. And so when I have to wake up earlier than that, I'm like, and I used to do the social experiment of waking up at 4:30 and see how it goes, and it's the sense of achievement is incredible, but when you actually have to go to bed and you're not even tired because your usual, circadian rhythm tells you to go to bed at midnight, you're like, well, I'm going to be fucked because I'm only going to get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and it's not going to work out on the long run, right?
Of course. Yeah, no. That's why for me that routine and structure is so important. Obviously, I take supplementation like Dr. Dean's Sleep Stack and Support Max Neuro, so for me, at that point at 6 or 7 o'clock, when I have my Support Max Neuro, which is ashwagandha, mainly ashwagandha, that kind of tells my brain to flip, and then that's the time. But particular supplements are odd, because sometimes I'll take them, and if I'm still in the mindset whereby I'm working, it will just elevate that. You know, there was times whereby I'd be ready for bed, but I'd take a scoop or like have some 5-HTP and I'd jump on the Xbox, because my brain's ticking. I'm like fucking, you know, getting headshot and sniping guys. I'm like, oh shit, I need to be the opposite. So you have to be careful with those supplements sometimes, because it works on what sort of wave you're on at that time. But for me, the majority of the time at that 7 p.m. meal, I have my Support Max, and I'm cooking as well. It's nice to cook and put some music on, and then that's like the sign that my body's like, right, now's the chill time.
Do you feel that being single is actually easier for self-structuring your day-to-day life and being able to get all your daily life around your goals and the way you want to do things? Nothing gets in the way, not quite as easily, right?
Yeah, that's definitely one kind of pro to it. But I've always felt better, probably psychologically more comfortable in a relationship. I would say I'm a relationship kind of person. I feel like that once that particular element is gone, I'm a little bit kind of too free, and I quite like to have that individual there to kind of almost keep me grounded. But in the other sense, it's like, well, for example, if I did want to stay on the computer until 7 p.m, I don't really have too much to worry about. And I fell prey to kind of, when in a relationship, ignoring that element of downtime, you know, and that ultimately kind of had its effects. So there's definitely pros and there's definitely cons. I think being single and adopting this monster mindset that you hear Jordan Peterson talk about, you can probably do that, but it's very hard in modern day and age, in especially in a relationship, to become this monster, because ultimately it's like, well, where's my time, do you know? So yeah, there's definitely pros and cons. Like I said, I think I probably do cope a little better to have someone there just to talk to, but that's why we've got our friends. You know, I speak to Joe, and I speak to a load of my other boys, and it kind of helps. But yeah, it definitely has its pros and it definitely has its cons as well.
This concept, this Jordan Peterson concept of monster is so interesting, but I think a lot of guys especially get it wrong, because they see the monster as a physical, you know, shield, body envelope concept. And the way you've been translating it right now is more a mental game and a personal achievement monster kind of thing, right? Of
course, yeah. It's not a case of just turning into this very narcissistic, arrogant type individual and kind of ignoring everything around you. It's not that particular monster. It's being the monster is almost being contained within you, but being so fucking productive within that particular time. So, you know, I think a lot of people kind of took on board what Jordan Peterson meant and was like, right, everyone around me can fuck off, friends, relationships, I'm just going to go crazy. And it's like, well, you still need to work and have that balance. It's more so being a monster within your times where you're most productive, you know, because you still need sleep, you still need to eat, you still need to exercise, you still need to socialise, because you could probably only become, you probably only turn into that particular monster and it will last a few weeks, because you get to the end of the month, you're like, oh, I need to go and see someone now, you know, I need some physical interaction, you know, I'm a social individual. So it's definitely about not kind of getting that particular concept misconstrued and understanding what, you know, because, and also you need to be a monster within your field. It's not a case of, you know, if you're an online coach and all you want is 20 additional clients, you don't really need to be that much of a monster. You just need to understand your demographic audience and just be smart. You know, you don't need to close yourself off to the world for 20 clients. But then if you're aspiring to be the next Elon Musk, then maybe that does need to happen.
Elon Mosquito. Speaking of closing yourself to the world, I've gone through a phase of like kind of a burnout during this summer. I was doing my last like summer shredding kind of thing, like a cut for, you know, achieving a new physique and so on. Yeah. And I burnt out completely around work and social pressure and all the goals I had in place in my life. And then I saw your social experiment about going cold turkey, about unfollowing everybody. So I wanted to hear how you dealt with the concept of, per se, closing yourself to the world, because a lot of people, when I did that and I explained why I was doing that, because I wanted no distraction, and I needed like deep down to focus. It was very selfish, but refocus on myself and being able to save the boat before, eventually drowning. And I was like, okay, let's cut off from this world, and let's put curtains and see nothing else than what I need to do, my family, my girlfriend, and so on. And a lot of people actually got crazy mad at me, in the sense that a lot of friends of mine are like content creators as well, and they were like, oh, so you don't follow my content anymore? So you don't want to, you don't want to be friends anymore. You don't want to know how I'm doing or what I'm doing for a living, or how is my day-to-day life going, So, okay, so you're not interested in me anymore. And a lot of people actually got like, kind of passive aggressive towards me. It was very, very strange. And I've seen you've begun to follow people on Instagram. Yeah. So I wanted to know how you dealt with the reactions, and if you had I actually had a second account for like very close friends and family, because I needed to follow their journey and see what they were about.
Sure.
But how did you deal with that?
I mean, I never really followed a huge amount of people anyway. I think it was about max 20-25 people, and they were the only people that I kind of drew inspiration from, and I followed them for their work. But I never really there was a couple of questions, or there's a couple of comments on YouTube like how arrogant do you have to be, like you think you're so special because you don't follow anyone. It's like, no, I'm just sort of putting my mental health first, because I got into a position where I was comparing myself to everyone. Like your burnout phase was very similar to mine. I went to Marbella a couple of times, and during that time I came up, well, the second time I went to Marbella, I came off social media completely. So I just deactivated my account, and it was 7 of the nicest days of my life. It felt like I was an actual human. The first day was a bit weird, because I'd sit down to dinner and I kind of pull my phone out to take a picture, and it's like, oh yeah, shit, I'm not logged in. So it was just nice to enjoy the presence of someone else without having to feel like you had this pressure to show people what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, it was only a couple of responses about, why would you unfollow? And I had good reason. I said I'm just comparing myself. Obviously, my contest prep this year was fantastic because I had Josh and Joe, but equally, 2 incredible physiques, both professional bodybuilders, both a lot bigger than I am. So it's very easy to fall into that trap of just looking at them and going, especially if I'm having a bad day, so I'm looking at them thinking, why don't my arms look like that, or why don't I look conditioned as Josh? So I just completely unfollowed them, and I said to them, look, no hard, and they're like, I don't care, and
sure.
Your
closest friends always
of
understand,
course,
right? Yeah.
And I still follow people. Like, just because I don't follow anyone, I still follow the trends. I'm still checking in on people. They sort of weirdly get off on that because they're like, oh, you're looking at my stories. I'm like, well, yeah, I am. Like, don't try and like hold yourself above me because I don't follow. I'm just looking to see what's going on and seeing how you're doing things. So I definitely still follow people, but just not physically. And it's nice because you're in a position whereby if you want to look at this person, you can, and you're not constantly surrounded by it. But the whole kind of coming off social media thing, that's something that I'm going to do or continue to do. It's really nice to have like a 5 or 7 day time period completely off social media. I think it refreshes, it gets the creative juices flowing again. Because I came to the end of the prep and the member site was doing well, the prep, and I just thought like I'm at burnout now. I'm creating content, and I had that 7 days off. And like, you're not going anywhere. No one's gonna forget about you. No one's gonna forget about yourself, and you're always gonna be there. If not, it creates more hype. Oh my God, Where's Tom gone?
I remember the Josh story saying that's your weekly reminder message that Tom is actually doing all right and is not dead or in Peru or killing himself with ayahuasca. I don't know. Crazy, man. Crazy. Okay. I'm ready to break the ice on this one, but in order to share minds if you want or need me to, because in France it's a bit taboo to speak about money, but for people who would like to kick off in the fitness industry probably, how do you structure your income, or what are your different sources of income?
Yeah.
If you want to share that with us.
Absolutely.
No obligation. Okay.
No, not at all. Absolutely. When I originally first started working with Luke Johnson, I was a sole trader. So I was it's the kind of one below a limited company. But the only issue with sole trader is that when you start to earn in excess of maybe 30,000 a year, the tax is big, you know.
Same in France. Same.
The tax is annoying. So I remember I've kind of created a G sheet, a spreadsheet whereby it automatically kicks in and starts taking my money off for me. So even now as a limited company, at the end of most weeks or every Monday when I sit down and have my coffee, I'll just write in my expenses just so I can keep a tally of where I'm at. So when I left Luke and I spoke to Gigi, he said you need to be a limited company. So then I created my limited company, and from kind of tax perspective, a lot better. You know, over here we basically I have an accountant anyway to help me with these things, but we essentially pay ourselves a flat rate, which I think is about £732, and that's underneath the national insurance threshold. So that way, when you pay yourself under that, you don't pay national insurance. Obviously, the expenses come straight out. Being a YouTuber, being a videographer, a lot of what all of this is an expense. Even it kind of trips away because I'm filming. You know, it's a very good position to be in. And then what I'll do is, well, at the end of every financial year, really, I'll just take a big dividend out. And then what that dividend will do is essentially pay for everything that is required in that year. So I'll pay for my car insurance outright, my council tax outright, just so that allows me to keep my overheads bare minimum. So each month, really, all I pay for is probably my phone and my heat and electricity. That's like, you know, that's like barely anything. So from the kind of perspective of income streams, I'm a sponsored athlete, so I work with Inside Supplements, so that is commission based. I work with Medichecks as well, the blood company. So that.
Well, you don't have any fixed salary with those brands?
Not a fixed salary. No, we work
Okay.
on commission, but then I will, you know, sit down and sort of almost tell them what I want for commission, and that's
Okay.
and that's signed off. And then we have the members site, and which is
going crazy now.
Yeah, so that was turned into the Vault because we're opening up the new Flow website next year. We have batch content of like 200 videos, so no new content is going out there. It's just for obviously current members to access it, and then new people is just a one-off fee, which is, you know, from a passive income perspective, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, just this comes in, I click a button and they're in. And then we have online coaching as well, but the online coaching model is more so I'll have blocks. So 3 times a year I'll have an intake, as opposed to keeping my doors constantly open, just because I work better with, you know, I've got 2 phones, one phone for coaching, one phone for personal, everything, yeah, exactly, everything. So I've got my little trap phone, and then everything is on there. Just I work better with everyone starting at this date, everyone ending at this date. And essentially what the sort of online coaching does is it allows me that kind of financial freedom to then start to invest elsewhere, and kind of essentially use the 12-week block to maybe pay for an app. So I'm looking at trying to get an app for the coaching next year, just because I want everything to be nicely packaged in one little thing. So yeah, I mean that would, in terms of my income streams, that would probably be about that.
Lovely, incredible, well done, congratulations, because you've gone a long way from dreaming about your current life to actually being able to living it, right?
Yeah, no, of course, I appreciate it. It's you know, probably a comment to make. I've definitely been a lot happier in the cases whereby I'm not so fixated on money. You know, I think if I were to look back early this year before I started to burn out, and to see sort of 15 to 20 grand a month come in was fantastic. But one, when you're working so much, you've got all this money coming in, you can barely spend it. And 2, you almost become so fixated on what if it dips again. So if I went from a 15 grand a month down to like a 10, I'd be like, what's going on? And so I'd spiral. But now I'm in a position where, because we're almost rebranding, you know, TMCycles is staying the same, but the new Flow, which is lifestyle oriented, it's more gen pop, it's about education, it's about taking on new people. And what comes with that is a potential drop off in current subscribers and followers, which is fine, that's absolutely cool. You know, the sort of hardcore bodybuilders don't really agree, but that's, you know, I think bodybuilding has a shelf life, so I'm not happy to see them go. I'd love them to stay, but if they're not really interested in this particular content, then that's cool. I think when one door opens, a very big one, another new one opens. When one door closes, sorry, one opens. So yeah, it's nervous. It's slightly anxiety provoking, but it's exciting.
Okay, do you have somebody helping you out with the strategy, with the marketing side of things?
Yeah, I've got a guy who kind of just has taken not like a major role, but he is helping me kind of behind the scenes. Obviously, Gigi was fantastic at helping me with that.
Gigi was a big help. Yeah. I saw the appreciation post that you did yesterday about it. Crazy.
He's been a massive help for me. You know, an incredible man, and like I said, more than just a videographer, man that kind of kept me grounded. He was there for me during this year, and he's I wouldn't say a lot older than me. He's older than me, so he's kind of been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. So to have that support from someone that's been in the industry now for 15 or so years, and can kind of highlight my strengths and weaknesses and say, right, we need to go all in on this and pull back on this. We need to think about breadth. He's been brilliant. So yeah, there's a couple of people behind the scenes, but I'm very a little bit stubborn. I've got my own way of doing things, and which is probably my downfall. But I think next year, when we go into 2022 and potentially look at the app and opening more things up, it's definitely going to be a situation of outsourcing more.
Not easy, right? To let go.
Not easy, no, because it's your baby. I don't want people editing I want to edit it. So, even like me, Josh, and Joe are doing a podcast at the moment, and each week we go to a studio in London, and we've got cameras, and you have the opportunity to pay to edit it, but I'm like, no, I'll edit this. Leave it to me. I don't want anyone touching this work. This is my work. So yeah, it's cool.
You'll do nothing. That's crazy, because that's one of the first things I've let go. Probably because I was not coming from a place where I was actually, the creative genius behind everything. I had the ideas, but the realization, I was like, oh, there's a lot of people that actually they're actually better than myself at like putting the ideas into fruition and into giving them life. So I was like, okay, I need more time to create and develop and grow my business. So if I can shoot the videos and then give it to somebody else, and then check that the vision is on par with what I want to create, it's fine for me.
Of course, you just need to have your head screwed on and understand, because it's tricky. We're in the world now where everyone's self-proclaimed analyst or marketing expert or guru, and 9 times out of 10 it's just bullshit, and you can see straight through that. And someone that's been in the industry for 10 years, I can see the good from the bad. So I think you should only start to look at outsourcing when you're in that position whereby you need to free up time. I think if you're just starting the industry, first 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the growth of the business, you're your own island. You shouldn't be looking at videographers or photographers. You should be learning the basics yourself, because then you can create this brand. Otherwise, if me and you were to just delete everything and start afresh, we wouldn't go and pay someone to videographer, because you've lost your own personal unique style. So yeah, it's definitely a point whereby you think, right, the business is going well, I need to secure my own time here. Then we start to look to outsource.
Tom, there's an important question I want to ask you, and that I've been actually asking the question to a lot of big fitness influencers and bodybuilders and so on about steroids, right? Yeah. I'd like to know if you think that you'd be at the exact same place where you at the moment without them, because a lot of guys that I've met in this industry would actually tell you, oh no, you don't need steroids to be famous, or you don't need steroids to feel legitimate, or to feel that you've made it, or to feel like you can open your mouth and speak about this and this and that. But if you look at the truth, all of them took anabolic steroids, and then they're getting back on the, oh no, you don't need I don't know if I can say his name, but I went to London 5 years ago to meet, so everybody's gonna know now, but I went there to meet this guy, and he was like a guy I was looking up to, and when we met, he actually lied through his teeth, WBFF world champion and so on, and it was like, oh no, I never did steroids, but you don't need to. You know why? Because the most famous guys on earth is like David Beckham, look at his physique. Do you want to be David Beckham? So you don't need steroids to do that. And so you have in front of yourself a guy who built his own, persona, character, and business and word around his physique thanks to steroids, and now is denying it all actually. But what's your take on it?
A lot of the way that the fitness industry is moving now is that a lot of the people that were taking anabolic steroids, they sat on the back fence and they waited for individuals like myself to see the effects from audience. So when I first started 10 years ago, working in GNC, I couldn't care less. I wanted to create content and say, look, because I was searching for it myself, testosterone, nothing about was apart from fucking Rich Piana. And you don't really want to take anabolic steroid advice from Rich, God bless him. But I was like, let me create some content surrounding testosterone and my journey. And to begin with, it wasn't received very well. What you're doing for the sport is bad. You shouldn't be talking about this openly. This you're going to jeopardize future jobs, for example. So I was like, well, I don't feel like that. I'm coming from an educational perspective. I think it's going to be okay. Then, as the years started to kind of clock up, the response from the audience members about steroids was positive. This is good, education. And then all of a sudden, the big guys, oh, I'm taking steroids. Oh yeah, no. It's like, well, you've sat back, you've sat on the fence, you haven't said anything because you were too scared because of the potential knock-on effects. And now a lot of these guys are being open about it. But you've got to look. Some of the guys that are open about anabolic steroids now denied it back then, but were very, very obviously taking anabolics. And I know those guys, and they don't sit on them, and that's why I don't want to, coerce with them. I don't want to be friends with them, because ultimately they built an audience on, being deceitful, and there's a lot of guys in the industry. But to answer your question, do you think I needed steroids to be where I am today? No, but then I wouldn't have created the sort of the first 30,000, and I wouldn't have been able to create the members site. So. If I was going into the fitness industry now fresh, it would be very, very different. It'll probably be down the sort of Joe Wicks, healthy in different recipes kind of, but that particular market's very saturated, and that would really require me to be something special and to really overemphasize my individual unique kind of style. But yeah, it's a tricky one, because without the steroids, who knows where I'd be.
It's a very honest answer, as usual. I wasn't expecting less from you, to be honest. Speaking of that, I've been working with Gymshark as a Gymshark athlete.
Yeah.
Stamp of
nice
appreciation since 2017 now.
Wow.
And in the back of my head at the beginning, now I couldn't care less, but at the beginning I was like looking at the athletes, because it was this very, close and exclusive club. Like I was one of the first French athletes, and I'm not even an athlete, so even the word sounds so much of an imposter syndrome in my mouth. But I was like, God, look at all those guys. Everybody's on gear. Like literally, back in 2017, it was the norm, like the new norm of social media, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like. I'm not 100 kgs. I'm not big. I'm not jacked. Am I allowed in here because of like my personality or content or brain even, or I don't know. And I was looking at this very close club, and I was feeling bad about the body image of like all those huge guys, and being at a certain this. The sentence, there's levels to this shit, was in my head every single day, and I was comparing myself to all those guys, and I was like, okay, maybe that's why you need to be part of the party, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it was so bad for mental health, and comparing yourself to everyone around. And
yeah, I mean, because I'm getting a lot of that now, is that, you've changed, and I'm like, well, people can change you never change your opinion on something in your life. Why are you kind of demonizing me for that? But back in the day, I think what Gymshark represented wasn't something that really sat with me very well. But this kind of new lease of life that Gymshark's injected into their company, I think is fantastic. I've been going up to the Gymshark Lift Club and speaking to like George and Johnny, Johnny Hammond, who's a fantastic little boxer. It's a really nice, homely, family environment. I think the way that the brand's changed is for the better, and fantastic to see that they're opening up a flagship store down in London. So hopefully we can all go to that. And I just think, the clothes are much better than they used to. I didn't really like the old kind of style of clothing. I thought they didn't really know what it was at that time. But then, this particular new style I really enjoy. So I think it's a fantastic brand and really nice people. And I think the new kind of generation of people working for Gymshark are current, they're fresh, they're unique. So it's a fantastic brand and an overall really nice kind of environment to be in.
Totally agree. Is your camera still rolling?
Yeah, still
44 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, no, all good.
Okay, great. I definitely think things have evolved, because it used to be this very exclusive club where you could only work with the brand if you were quote unquote an athlete, and now I'm not even sure you're like considered by the brand as an athlete, are you? You're just working it on and off, right?
Yeah, just the moment George reached out a while back and said, "Do you want to come?" Because we trained with Ryan Terry for his Arnold's.
I remember.
Which is just like
that was crazy.
Yeah, it was mad, because I think it was more exciting for Josh and Joe because they're both physique athletes. So, but for me, it was nice to still kind of go along. And obviously, Mr. Chris Bumstead is a big Gymshark guy now, which is crazy. I'm hoping that he can come over here soon, because it was originally a couple of years ago before COVID hit. Chris said he's going to come to London, so I just reached out to him and messaged and said, if you're coming to London, I'm happy to kind of be your taxi man and I'll take you to Nando's. Not thinking he'd reply, and then he was like, "Yeah, sure, man." I was like, "Oh fuck, this is." And then he was like, "Here's my WhatsApp number," and he was WhatsApping, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then unfortunately COVID hit, so we couldn't quite get to meet up. But I think the people, the new athlete, I find it funny now because I'm sponsored by Insight and they call me an athlete, and I'm like, am I really an athlete? An athlete in my mind is a fucking runner and fit guy. I don't know if us bodybuilders can call ourselves athletes, but I suppose it's nice when you're out and you're speaking to people like, I'm an athlete, I'm a sponsored athlete, and they're like, "Oh fucking hell, that's crazy, well done." But I think that the whole new vibe and setup is fantastic. You've obviously got Louis that does a lot of work for them behind the camera, and Fabian as well, and it just feels like a real nice unit,
It's crazy. Yeah, I'm so proud and happy to be part of this new environment.
Yeah.
Which I've been in for like 5 years almost, but it's been evolving so much that now it's getting even more exciting than Nike or Adidas or all the big hitters on the market, and you're like, wow. And now this small brand created like 7-8 years ago is now doing moves. You know what I mean? Like real. They've been on board with like Crazy Neistat, Gary V.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Who's next?
I know.
Who's next?
It was very interesting to see Ben talk about how he wanted to take Gymshark in the same direction as Amazon. Obviously Amazon started as a book club almost, and now it's one of the biggest companies in the world. To hear a kind of CEO speak about that mindset is very, very motivating and inspiring, and it's doable. I think Gymshark as a brand can absolutely galvanize anything in any industry really at this point. So it's exciting times.
Have you met him in person?
Very briefly when we first went up. I think he was doing a tour. He's a very, very busy guy, but his content's fantastic on the TikTok, and just I think Gymshark's ability just to stay constantly on it and fresh with the most recent Spotify Wrapped and kind of putting in their interpretation of it, like it's amazing. And from a content creation point of view and a marketing point of view, we should all be kind of taken on, even if you dislike the brand and you're an individual brand, take on board what they're doing because it's working.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Every time I'm lucky enough to go and be invited to the HQ, I'm like, you feel that you're in the middle of something
very special,
so much bigger than you going on. Like a little army, right? Everybody's everybody's doing his own thing, and everyone is actually working towards the same goal. It's crazy to see how they operate at the highest levels, but being themselves 100% of the time. It's really cool to see, to witness.
It is
very cool.
Very interesting.
Man, you've shared so much with us. Thank you so much for the 5 remaining minutes. I prepared a little French class if you want to get better.
Let's go for it.
So I was like, what could I teach to Thomas in French that is gonna need for sure if he meets somebody, I don't know, French girl who comes to France for a work tour or next year or whatever. So I prepared a sentence a day for the 7 days of the week.
Nice.
So first day, Monday obviously, is this bench free, because Monday is International Bench Press Day, right?
Okay.
So so you would go in French. Ce banc est libre.
So boy, why don't you send me that list on Instagram now? Because then I'll do better when I visually read it. You know.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
That's better. I wasn't very good at French at school. I prefer, but I didn't even get to do Spanish. My family is Spanish, so it's.
But you actually learn Spanish, French at school?
Yeah, we did French. Yeah.
Okay.
We did French at school.
There you go. For how many years?
For I think it was only a couple of years. What did you send it on? Skype or Instagram? Oh, there we go. Is this bench free?
Instagram, there you go.
Oh, okay. I thought you was going to send it to me in French. Did you send it through in French or is that English?
Oh, no, I didn't write them down in French. Okay, I'm gonna. This is bench free. Ce banc est libre. So give me a minute.
That's all right.
Pourquoi tu fais ouais. Ah, squat. 5 kilos chicken breast. That's Wednesday done.
We'll edit this bit out.
No worries. Saturday. And then Sunday. There you go. So, tac, copy, paste, tac. Okay, so now you have the translations.
Here we go.
So that.
Amazing.
So, Monday is this bench free?
C'est bon et libre.
Ce banc est libre.
Ce banc est libre.
Est-ce que ce banc est libre? Like, it's a question. I forgot the question.
Est-ce que c'est of course, yeah. Est-ce que c'est bon et libre?
That's great. Okay, Tuesday. Why are you curling in my squat rack?
This is a tough French lesson.
Yeah, it is. It's not easy, but I know you were always up for a challenge, right?
Oui. Pourquoi tu fais les biceps dans mon rack à squat?
Exactly. Pourquoi tu fais les biceps dans mon rack à squat?
Yeah. See, I just need a little bit of practice in flowing, but yeah, okay.
The flow state is going to come quick. Mm-hmm. Don't worry. Wednesday, can I get 5 kilos of chicken breast, please?
Go for it. Je voudrais... What's 5? 5? No.
5. Yeah, sorry, I wrote it and with figure, not letters. Je voudrais 5 kilos.
Je voudrais 5 kilos de blanc de poulet.
SVP is the short version of s'il vous plaît, please.
S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît.
S'il vous plaît. Je voudrais 5 kilos de blanc de poulet, s'il vous plaît.
Amazing. It's such a beautiful language. Amazing.
No, it's not. But it's not easy. It's not beautiful.
I think it's a good language.
I appreciate a lot of English-speaking people actually look up to French language and French culture, but very few English-speaking people actually practice and speak French, right? When you go to London, nobody speaks French.
No.
And when you go to Paris, very few people actually speak English, to be honest. But okay, I see. First day, hold my beer.
How do I say this one? Go on.
Tiens-moi ma bière.
Tiens-moi ma bière.
Tiens-moi ma bière.
Yeah, I'm going out on Saturday. I'll say this one. Tiens-moi ma bière.
Tiens-moi ma bière. Great. Friday. Do you live with your parents?
Go on, you go first.
Tu vis chez tes parents?
Tu vis. How do you say chez? Chez?
Chez.
Oh, chez.
Chez.
Tu vis chez tes parents?
Not like the ceviche, but like not the ch. The tongue that doesn't go t, but chez. Chez. Exactly. Tu vis chez tes parents?
Tu vis chez tes parents?
Exactly. That's great. Saturday, man. What? 10 pounds or 10 quids? You would say 10 quids, right?
Yeah,
in DC,
£10, 10 quid, yeah.
In DC, 10 pounds for a bottle of water. Water. Did you say water?
I think it's
water?
€12 now. It's crazy.
It's 15 now. So in France, you would go, quoi? 10 euros pour une bouteille d'eau?
Quoi? What's 10? 10.
10 euros. 10 euros. 10 euros.
Quoi? 10 euros pour un... How do you say the last bit?
Une bouteille.
Une botella?
Une bouteille, como una botella en español. Une bouteille.
Un botella.
10 euros pour une bouteille d'eau?
That's a hard one. I'll start.
It's not easy. You don't need water to be alive. So don't worry. And not in this season, at least. And then Sunday, do you have any table available outside?
That's easy. Vous avez une table en terrasse? Une terrasse?
Vous avez une table en terrasse?
Wow. Une table en terrasse.
It's
weird because I'm trying to speak like Espanol and then I'm like, oh shit, it's French. This is great. I'm actually going to start this and start learning this on a daily basis. This is good for my head.
Man, you've been doing so good. Congratulations. Well done.
And to yourself as well. It's fantastic to see your progression. It's incredible. It's nice to tap into people and use them as inspiration as well. So well done. Well done to the both of us.
Man, if you need a French teacher any day of the week, basically, just let me know and I'll be happy to help you out with the translations or everything.
When I've done with the bodybuilding and the fitness industry, and I'll start to look to travel, and I'm going to go everywhere and learn languages and new cuisine, and yeah, I'll give you a call.
That's great, man. Thank you so much for doing me the great honor and the great pleasure to being on board on the podcast today.
No worries.
I loved our conversation and the insights you gave us. It was very, very valuable, really. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
And then, shall we? Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Much love. That's good. Yeah. Well.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you.